Welcome. In this video tutorial, we're going to be talking more about HTML. As we mentioned in the previous video tutorial, the HTML developed from the internet and the World Wide Web. And what the HTML is, it's a programming language. And it's a programming language that you'll find most websites that you visit today have HTML at the core of them. So it's a programming language that helps developers build websites. And so what actually is HTML? Well, HTML, first of all, it's derived from something called XML. So XML. And what XML is it's a way of designing markup languages. So XML is a way of designing markup languages. And the best way for me to explain that is to give you an example. So if, for example, I have this piece of text here, and if we analyze this piece of text, we can see that this piece of text has certain properties. So we can see here that this piece of text has a title, and this title is font size 18, and it's bold. And we can say that this text here has a font size of 10. We can see that this word here has been boldened here. We can see that these words here have been center aligned. And you can see that they've actually been made italic as well. So when you look at a piece of text on a standard Word document or word process document, there are certain markups on that text. So the text has been given properties, it's been given formatting. And XML is a way of designing those markup languages and giving the text properties. So what HTML is again, it's a subset of XML where only certain tags can be used to define the markup of that language. Don't worry too much if you don't understand yet exactly what I mean by tags. But if I just give you a brief example, what we could do is we could say that, well, this here has been tagged as a title. We could say that its font size has been tagged, and the fact that it's bold has also been tagged. Again, size, bold, alignment, and the fact that it's been made italic as well. So we could say that these are tagged properties of this piece of text here. And HTML, again, like I said, is a subset of that. So what Tim Berners-Lee did is he said, well, look, we're going to build websites, and we're going to base these websites being built on a programming language called HTML. So we're going to base it on the XML method of marking up text, and I'll create this HTML that has standard tags that cannot be changed. So those standard tags that he came up with are these. We have a HTML tag, and that HTML tag is followed by a head tag, and that head tag is followed by standard, mostly we get a title tag. Now again, this doesn't, in fact, I'll just put this into a different color because this isn't essential, and I'm going to talk about which tags are actually essential later on. But I'm going to just put this one in red. Title. Now, when we started coming up with these tags, or when Tim Berners-Lee started coming up with these tags, he said, right, well, what I'm going to do is, when I open a tag, I've got to close it. So to close a tag, I've got to have a slash, like that. So I've opened the title here. These are the less than symbol. Title in capital letters is just the correct syntax in which to write these tags. And then a more than symbol is one tag. So this here is one tag. This here is another tag. This here is another tag. This here is another tag. So anything that's in between the less than and more than symbols we call a tag. Again, so if I've got to open and close tags, you can see that I've opened the head. So what I'm going to do after the title is I'm going to close it. Like this. Now you think, well, close the HTML tag. Well, not yet. There's a really important tag that you need to use, and that tag is called the body tag. And once I've written the body tag, I close the body tag. And now I'm ready to close all of my HTML. So if we just have a quick look through this text, I've got an open HTML, close HTML, open head, close head, open title, close title, open body, close body. So even now you're probably still thinking, what are you on about? I'm not understanding why these tags are important, what do they do, how do they work? Well, if I just write them like this on this drawing application that I'm using, I'm not really going to be able to see any results. So what I'm going to do is, what you can do is you could open a text editor. For example, you could open Notepad if you're using a Windows operating system. But I've got a piece of software called Dreamweaver. Now, Dreamweaver is a web developing software which allows me to create websites. And it's pretty much a WYSIWYG piece of software, in the sense that what you see is what you get. So for example, if I start typing some text here, hello world, you can see that I see the words hello world. That's because I'm in the design view. What I'm going to do is, if I just split this, you can see here that this is the HTML that's been written in order for me to create this page here. So again, not to confuse you, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to imagine that this is just a blank document. So imagine this is me opening up a blank document in Notepad. Now the reason that I say that is because I could, you think, open up something like TextEdit on the Mac, which is the operating system that I'm using. But there's some complication with using TextEdit for creating HTML pages. So for this example, I'm just going to use Dreamweaver, but it'd be just like opening up Notepad. So what I'm going to do, if I just flick back, you can see that I've written these tags here. I'm just going to actually now type these up. So I'm going to open up with a HTML tag, like that. I'm then going to open up a head tag. And again, I'm just copying these from what I typed up earlier. I'm going to open a title tag. I'm going to close the title tag. I'm going to close the head tag. I'm going to open up a body. I'm going to close the body, and then I'm going to close the HTML. So you can see that what I've done there is I've just typed up this that we've just gone through. So I've got all the necessary tags that I need. And like I said, these are the tags that you require in order to create a HTML page with the correct syntax. However, this one isn't necessarily needed. Your page will still work, but I'll explain what this does in just a minute. So right now I could actually save this. So I'm just going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to save this onto my desktop. And I'm just going to call this test, capitals, .html, and press Save. Now, this HTML document has appeared on my desktop here, and now what I can do is I can open with, and I'm just going to open this up in my default web browser, which is Google Chrome. And this is what it does. This is my very first web page. Okay, so I've opened up from my desktop test.html, and you can see that it's blank. Why is it blank? Well, I've not written anything in it. I've just got the tags. Now it's about investigating what these tags do, and like I said, the important ones here are these body tags. Whatever I write in between these body tags, so if I write hello world, this will appear in the body. This big white area here is the body. So again, if I just save this, File, Save, go back, hit refresh, and now it's the same document and it says hello world. So again, this is the body. Anything I write in between these two tags here will appear on my screen. Just to test that, so I can say hello world, my name is Mark. Save it, File, Save, go back, hit refresh. Hello world, my name is Mark. Now you can see up here, look, in the tab it says test.html. Now I picked that up because when I told you about these title tags here, if I write something in between these title tags, so I just write something like my first web page, and I save this, and then I go back and hit refresh, you can see that this tab now says my first web page. So what you write in the title is actually what appears in your tabbed browsing, just here. What you write in the body here is what appears in the main area of your site. Now, that's all very well, but as I'm sure you're saying, this web page here, if all I can do is simply write words inside the body to create something like this, that's just like a standard text document. How would I create something like the BBC website? If I could type that in correctly. So you can see that this BBC website is not just plain text like mine. Okay, we've got pictures in there, we've got galleries in there, we've got drop-down menus in there, we've got a lot going on. And again, it's because it's more complicated than just writing in the body tag. Now, if you ever want to actually go and have a look at the code that sits behind these web pages, you can do that. So if I just go to, this is Google Chrome, so if I go to the tools, I'll just move this in so you can see it a little bit better. If I go to tools and tools again, and then go to view source, you can see that this is actually the code behind the building of this web page. And again, it's a bit more complex than our code, but you can see here, look, that the HTML tag is here, the head tag is here. If we go down a little bit, keep going. A lot of scripts in here. You can see down here we've got the body tag, we've got the close of the head tag. We can keep going down again. You can see these have got lots and lots of code in order for this to work. So don't let this scare you, because again, most of this you'll learn as you progress. Not all of this. I mean, some of this is way beyond what I could tell you in these video tutorials. But again, just understanding the basics will allow you to then take those basics further and develop more complex code. And you can see here, look, that I close, or BBC closes their HTML tag. So behind every website, there is HTML at the core of it. So how can we go on from here? What else do I need to know in order to build pages like this? Well, there's a lot more that you need to know, but the next basic thing that you could probably do with knowing is, I'm just going to show you, for example, what happens if I continue to write. So, hello world, my name is Mark. I am teaching you about HTML and how to code, or how to use this language to build websites. Full stop. So far, we have built a simple HTML script to present text on our screen. Now again, sorry for writing so much, but something I wanted to show you here is if I just save this and I go back and I hit refresh, okay, this is all looking good. If I go back to the code here and let's say, well, actually, you know what, I want to put this so here on another line, so I press enter like that. All looks good, press save, go back, hit refresh, oh, and nothing happens. Now then, that's because if you remember what I said about the markup. So when we're writing HTML, it looks like this, and it's based on XML. And if we think about XML again, if I just paste you in the picture that we were talking about, each element of this text here has tags, like I said. So if you have a look, for example, here, this is obviously a title, just like we've got a title up here. This here is what I guess you could say is the body of our text. But there's something's happened here. Something's happened at this point here to tell this text here to go on to the next line. Now again, you probably take that for granted that when I hit enter on my keyboard that it goes on to the next line. But I need to, there's some well, there's something going on in the background that actually tells this line to go onto another line. And the same happens with HTML. When we write our code, or when we write inside the body, we need to tell the text that we want it to go onto the next line. We can't just hit enter and assume it knows that it's got to put a line break in there. So we actually have to use another tag. So if I just go back to my code here, just by pressing enter, you can see that there's nothing in here that tells this line to go onto another line. And that's why when we go and have a look at the code, if we go and have a look at the preview like this, it's not on another line. So what we need to do is we need to use another tag, and it's called the BR tag. Now, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, because I said that when you open a tag, you always have to close it. Now, that's not always the case with HTML. Once HTML had come along, they decided that they needed to make it even more standard, and so they invented something called Xhtml, or HTML developed into Xhtml, whereby you did need to be more strict with your coding. Now you can see that what I could do here is I can put a BR tag and I don't have to close it at all. Let me just show you. File, save. Now what will happen is when I go and preview it, it will write this line of code, there will be a line break, and then it will put this line of code after it. So again, hit refresh, and there you go. Because I've put a tag in here that says put a break. Put a break after this full stop. Now, really we should do that. Okay, so don't worry too much, but that's good syntax for a BR tag. So it's less than symbol, BR space, slash, more than symbol. And again, it'll still do exactly the same thing, but it's better syntax to do that. Syntax means it's the way that you write the language. It's better to write it like that. It's like when, for example, when we text. It's like text language. Okay, so if I write a text, I'm trying to get it down to 160 characters, so I might write it's like that. People will still know what it's is, but it's not the correct syntax. You know, I need an apostrophe. That's the correct is. When I write a text, I sometimes put you. You know, people will still understand it, but the correct syntax is to write you. And it's just like that with our code. We like to use the correct syntax, and this here is better syntax. Now what I might want to do is when I press this return button, I actually wanted a line break plus a gap and then my line. So to do that, all I'd need to do is write this code again. So I could just copy that, and then I could paste it, and then I could save it. And then if I hit refresh again on here, you can see that I've got an extra line in there. So what we've covered in this short video tutorial is writing HTML, understanding that when I write this page here, when I write this HTML code, I have to save that as a file, which is this down here. I save that as a file, and then I open this file up into a web browser. So to do that, again, all I did, if I just move this out of the way so you can see a little bit better, all I did is I right-clicked and I opened with, and then I choose my web browser. So if you're not using Google Chrome, you can use Internet Explorer or Firefox like that. Then that will open that up in a web browser, and you can see what your web page would actually look like. Now note, this is not on the internet. This is just on my desktop. This is me running a page inside a web browser. This is not me putting that page on the internet, and that's something important to understand. All that page is sat on my desktop. Okay.